Well, the secondhand clothing market is worth $36 billion. Yep, with a B. And it is expected to leap to $77 billion by the year 2025. Yesterday, we talked about data from retail analytics firm Global Data and the online thrift store called ThredUp report, saying secondhand clothing is growing 11 times the rate of the new retail clothing sector. Much of it is being driven by Gen Z, people who are concerned about sustainability and the environment. Then we bring you in here. Grant, you've been following this.
It's really interesting information. The numbers are staggering. Here's why. Think about what you paid for the last shirt that you bought or the new pair of pants or jeans. It may not be the single item that costs a lot, but eventually it will add up, especially in this era of fast fashion. And that means trends change quickly. With low prices, people consume more, wearing each article of clothing less. Compared to 20 years ago, the average consumer now buys at least 60% more items of clothing, but keeps each garment half as long. Now, according to reports, there has been a 5-fold increase in the amount of clothing Americans buy over the last 3 decades. But each item is worn only an average of 7 times. Wow. So, as we continue to observe our changing climate, let's take a look at what the toll the fashion industry is having on our environment.
Textile production, the process to make the materials that ultimately become our clothes, is one of the most polluting industries, pumping out 1.2 billion tons of primary greenhouse gas carbon dioxide each year. That's more emissions than international flights and maritime shipping. And that's not all. 60% of textiles used to make clothing and the majority of the manufacturing occurs in China and India, which rely on coal-fueled power plants, increasing the footprint of each garment. Additionally, cotton itself is an incredibly thirsty material that takes up 713 gallons of water to make one cotton t-shirt. And according to the United Nations, around 2,000 gallons of water to make a typical pair of jeans. The era of fast fashion not only puts a huge strain on our natural resources while polluting our atmosphere, the back end of the cycle is just as ugly. Every second, the equivalent of one garbage truck of clothing materials goes into the landfill or is burned. Estimations show that if nothing changes by 2050, the fashion industry will use up a quarter of the world's carbon budget.
Oh, that's stuff you really don't even think about until you see it.
Right, yeah, it just shows up on your shelf and you think, oh, I'll buy it, it's cheap. But you know, it has to come from somewhere. There has to be a process to make those clothes. In 2018, an average shopper in the U.S. bought 68 garments a year. And as a whole, people around the world get 800 billion apparel items annually. Wow. Again, like I mentioned, you know, you buy it and then you, on average, you only wear that shirt or maybe that jacket or something like 7 times before you throw it away. But here's the silver lining. There's a silver lining here. With thrifting and thrift shops, especially here in the Bay Area, that is booming, which is great because then we're recycling, we're reusing.
Of course.
Our own Jenny Dean actually did a pair of stories earlier this week showing us how thrift stores get new items in every single day. And then obviously that's just more that you can go out and buy and use.
And you get a deal.
So on and so forth. Yeah, it's cheap, right? Of course, you know, it saves in the pocketbook too. Right now, all those stories and some tips on how you can get thrifting right there on the free 10 Tampa Bay app. You should check it out.